Hi there, and you're very welcome to our Student Spotlight. Today we're speaking to Andreea Cislaru, who is a fourth year student in the Bachelor of Science degree. And it's nice to see you. How are you today?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm very good, thank you.
Good, yeah, very well. It's a nice bright day today, which always helps. Will you tell us about you're in your fourth year now, so you're very much on the final stretch. But if you can try and cast your mind back to first year, and maybe even before you started in Maynooth, what were you thinking about college?
Well, before I started, I think I must say that you will find that people tend to pressure you into what you should put down on your CAO. And I really believe that this should be you sit down in your own room and you take your own time and you really think about what you want, not what anybody else wants, and what you feel the best strategy would be for yourself. So I had put down quite a lot of different courses on mine. Mine were all science courses. So I was very fortunate in knowing that I wanted to do science. And when I came into my course, I found that some people weren't very happy about it. It just wasn't a place for them and they wanted to do something else. And that's okay. And I know
you knew you were very sure about what you wanted to study. Were you studying science subjects in your leaving cert then? Obviously you were.
I did chemistry and I did biology, and I loved science in the leaving cert. So I continued it on in the leaving cert and I still really enjoyed it. It just came down to that I had a very good science teacher, and that's it. And she inspired me. But so, yes.
So you were thinking of chemistry and biology. Were they you wanted to study those as subjects, or were you thinking of going into something more specialized in first year? How is it that you ended up in the Bachelor of Science degree?
Well, I ended up because it was the only one I was offered. And at the beginning, I remember saying to my friend, oh, it's okay, I'll just transfer to a different course. And after a week of going to my lectures, she turned around and she said, you're never leaving this course, because she saw that I was actually very happy in this course. And it really just comes down to, I had a wide variety of subjects that I could pick from. And in first and in second year and even through third year, I got a very broad view of what science is, which I sometimes feel if you do a more specialized course, you don't really get that opportunity. So for myself, I didn't know what I wanted to do in the next 4 years, and I still don't. I'm graduating in like a couple of months, and I still don't. But what I know for sure is I've experienced certain aspects of science, and I know now more where I want to be, and I can rule certain things out, and that works for me. Experience above everything works for me.
Okay. So you start out in something broad, and then you can kind of get more of a sense of what direction you might like to go with your degree ultimately, and then maybe into, but let's just roll back a little bit more to when you were in school. First of all, where in the country are you speaking to us from today, Andreea?
So I'm in Dublin. I'm near Walkingstown, actually, near Crumlin and Templeogue.
Okay, that's fairly convenient for Maynooth anyway, in terms of under typical circumstances when you're commuting to the university.
Yeah, I commuted in first and second year. I used to live fairly close to Maynooth, so I would have taken the bus in and out every day. And I didn't find that it was too much of a hassle. I think now they've added more frequent buses because Maynooth has gotten so big, they need more transport, which was great to see. And I because I was quite close sometimes, and my mum would pick me up if she was able to. And then I started driving, which was even better.
Good.
To get to college. But
so when you were coming to Maynooth, then did you have other friends from school, or were you on your own?
Because my course was so big, and from kind of where I lived, Maynooth was the closest university to us. So there was one or two of my previous pupils in my secondary school who actually did the same course as me. But they've moved on because the course was so broad. They've moved on into maths instead of, chemistry, and more biology instead of physics and other things like that. So
that, as we said, you can kind of choose your specialism, or at least the direction that you want to study more and more. So you're coming into first year and you're starting out in your first lectures and choosing your subjects and things. You have the opportunity, like you say, to kind of decide what subjects you want to take in first year. So how did you decide on your other two then? You have biology and chemistry. Oh, you have to take maths, of course.
What was really great is, yes, you do have to take maths. And I think a lot of people are always very skeptical about it. You know, they hear maths and, well, they think horror because for some people it is difficult. But what I would just emphasize is maths in the Leaving Cert is not maths in college. It's taught in a different way. And honestly, I found that it was taught a lot more nicer. It was taught better. And the exams, they weren't as daunting to do. They were lovely. It was a nice maths area to be in. And we had the math support center, which was always brilliant. There are still things that you're going to find difficult. That's something that you will always find. But I was very fortunate that the math support center was always there, and you know, you were never alone because you were always with friends and people who did the course. So you could always just ask questions, and it was just a lovely environment.
Plenty of help there for you. Plenty of help there for you if you need it. So, excuse me, what was your fourth subject then?
So then I did physics, and the reason I think I chose physics was because a week before we started lectures, they have different talks on the subjects that you can pick and choose, and the lecture just gives you a bit of an introduction to what it is, maybe a little bit of a flavor of what you're going to be studying. And I had to choose between science engineering and physics, experimental physics, because you can do other physics. So I just went with physics, I think because I was just very, actually, I don't know, I think I wanted to do the science, the engineering science, but I kind of thought that, you know what, I think if I do the physics, it will help me a lot more maybe in terms of chemistry, because there's still a bit of physics in chemistry. So I thought that they would go nicely together and they just flow in between one another. And I didn't do physics for Leaving Cert, and a lot of people do say, oh, I don't have chemistry done, or I don't have biology done, and it's not a problem. It wasn't a problem for me. It wasn't a problem for my friend who actually only came in with biology, so she picked up physics and chemistry as just new subjects.
Okay.
And it's not that she found it more difficult. I found that I actually put in a lot more work in physics because I was afraid that other people knew stuff and I didn't. So I did quite well in physics in first year, and I think I was very happy with that. But everybody learns the same thing. You go straight from the beginning of biology, of physics, of engineering, of maths, straight from the beginning, and you build up from there. So whatever you did learn in Leaving Cert, leave it at the Leaving Cert, leave it there.
Okay, but how does that work though? If you've studied biology and chemistry already for 2 years of your Leaving Cert, so are you kind of is it a bit, I don't know, not that challenging for you then, or?
That's what I would have thought in chemistry, because there are certain things that I would have done in the Leaving Cert that still popped up. Things like organic chemistry still popped up, acids and bases and the cell in biology and things like that. We still learned them, but I feel it was maybe taught a little bit differently and a bit better in certain aspects. Definitely explained a lot better, but also we built on top of these things. So I would have said that, my professor might have covered everything I learned in the Leaving Cert in one lecture, and then in the next lecture, this is new, nobody knows, we're moving on. And it was that sort of
things move on a lot faster in college, don't they? And there's a lot more expected of you in terms of the ownership of your work that you're doing. Yes. And your
no lecturer is going to run after you for an assignment. You're not going to be told twice. It's once. This is the time that you have to hand it up. But if you do have problems with certain things, or issues with deadlines and stuff, they were always very happy to talk to you about it, and they were always very accommodating for things. So things do happen. People do need a bit more time to do an assignment maybe, and that's perfectly fine within reason.
They are humans, and they are there to help, and they want you to learn, and that's the whole point of it, isn't it? Okay, so that's your first year. Did you get involved? So you had friends from school, but you weren't necessarily seeing them because it's a big place. So how did you find friends?
It was, I think, just kind of sat next to people and spoke to people. I have friends who the first day that we went in, and it was a introduction talk for just college overall, not for a specific module, and I sat down next to two boys, and to this day we're all still friends. We all help each other, and then after that we branched out into other friend groups, and then it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's very nice because everyone is willing to help. People aren't selfish, and even in terms of like exam help, and I find that a lot of my friends, and I feel very thankful because we all work very hard together, which is really nice because you're not alone.
Yeah, you have a good support network. And what about the more fun, I guess, side of it, like in terms of
well,
clubs and stuff?
Because the whole pandemic came in last year, I had 2.5 of good years of fun. I always said that there is a very good balance between academia and your socializing, and you're having fun in Maynooth. And see, I don't know if that's because it was my friend group, but I know it's different with other people, but we were more kind of like, okay, well, if we finish this assignment now and we get our work done by 7, we can go out and we can go and do fun stuff. So we were always very, and no matter what time we went to bed at, we always got up in the morning. We said, well, even though I won't listen, I will take something in from this lecture, so I have to go to it.
Indeed, yeah, get yourself up and get in. Did you join into clubs and societies, official clubs and SOCs, and did you get involved?
So I didn't in first year, mainly because I don't think I found one that I was very interested in, and I felt that science and STEM subjects are quite heavy in terms of your lectures and the work that you do. So in first year, I would have had to produce 3 lab reports a week and an assignment for maths, as well as go to all your lectures and 3 labs. So sometimes, my friends and we spoke about it, but we were kind of like, oh, but when? When would you go to any of this? Yeah. But we did, one of my friends did, he set up the Irish Society. So he was kind of like, well, I kind of need help getting this started and the 30 names. And we said, okay, well, we could help with that. So we kind of campaigned a little bit, and we also did, we baked stuff for people. That's
lovely, isn't it? So there was a gap in the market, so to speak, for an Irish society, and he filled that.
Exactly. So it was good. And 30 names wasn't a lot to get, because people would have just signed up just regardless of what society this was, just to help people get their society up. And it was lovely. And they also, what I did do is I joined the Maynooth Games in second year, and to this day I won't ever forget sitting in a biology lab, and the final kind of like round comes out on Facebook, and it says you have to find one of these. It was a riddle, and then you had to find a place, and in the place there was a little card, and the first riddle that came out, and I was like, it's the graveyard down by South Campus. I was like, okay, well, I can't go. I'm literally sitting in my biology lab, and all of my friends around me were just sitting there. We were like, oh, somebody has gotten this riddle. And the last riddle we almost got, I ran across North Campus and I actually fell, and my friend stopped to pick me up. And I was like, no, just keep going, just keep going. So it was fun, and we ended up making it to the last round, and we got vouchers for the Spotify, to use Spotify for an entire year. Okay. It was great. It was an entire week of just running around doing riddles. If you do look on Facebook, you will find all the videos. It's
very good. It's important to get the exercise and the fun together, if at all possible. So then you're going into your second and third year, and you're starting to get a bit more of a sense of what you want to study. What did you drop then going into second year and third year?
I did drop physics because for me, every year that comes along, I'm kind of like, okay, what modules are good together and what modules complement each other? Biology and chemistry always, like, they complement each other very well, and that's what I wanted to do eventually. So I definitely kept them, but I did speak to some postgrad students, even in like biology lab and stuff, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, how much do you use maths? You know, your statistics, like, do you actually use that, or do you think I should stick with physics? And they're always very helpful in giving you advice on things. So it's just a matter of just going up and asking. But they kind of said, well, you know, we still, in terms of biology, like statistics is something, if you're reading a paper and there's, you know, statistical values in there, it would be nice if you understood what that actually meant and stuff like that. I said, okay, well, I could take maths, but in second year, you have the option of doing an elective. So you could take half a subject. So I took half of maths and I took half of science communication, just because I always felt that science wasn't communicated very well and very clearly to people who don't understand science. And I thought that that might help me as a science student learn how I could do that better in the future.
Excellent. So that's an elective. So that's something you don't have to choose, but it's a great opportunity, isn't it, to take something that's completely different to your main course?
I originally did want to do a little bit of geography and more. There was one module and it was like geography and global warming, and I wanted to do that, but it did conflict with my timetable. But there's so many. One of my friends, he picked accounting actually for the year to study. There's languages that you can just do and study for the year, so it's great. It's a little bit of you know, you do all your science subjects, but then you get to do something that's not related to science.
And then you also get to meet other people that you may never have met because they're in different degrees, and you're all coming together for this one elective. So it's lovely. It's a lovely opportunity, isn't it? And then of course there's critical skills in first year as well, which is an optional for first year students coming into.
I wanted to take it. I always thought it felt a little bit more like English to me when I heard it, but a lot of my friends did do it. So when they went into second year and we had to start referencing and producing these lab reports, I had no idea how to do any of that. And they were like, it's okay, we'll sit down and we'll teach you. So,
okay, good. So they spread the knowledge.
Yeah, they spread the knowledge, exactly.
Andrea, is there anything that stands out with regards to study, like, and maybe any projects or any experiments that you've done that you've really thought, wow, okay, yeah, that's something I'm really interested in?
So the university does SPUR every year. So it's a summer program for undergraduate students to give them a little bit of a feel of what research is like. And it's not just in science, it's in all different academias. So you've got your psychology, they do different, because every department would do some sort of research. You also have law, business department, the science department, the engineering department, the computer science department. And you apply for it. It's actually sometime now that I applied for mine last year, and I applied for a chemistry one with one of my professors, and gratefully I got it. And then I spent 6 weeks. Unfortunately, we were still a bit in lockdown, so I actually couldn't go into lab to do all of the things that I would have done. But we looked at it from a different point of view, that this was very good in terms of learning how to research and using like your skills in terms of, if you read a paper, what are the most important information that you need to take from this paper to make a conclusion in something. So we actually moved away from the project that was set out, because now we had this free space. So we kind of came up with our own projects that we wanted to do. And the first few weeks, it was very difficult. The papers were very heavy in terms of science that I didn't even realize was possible. But after a while, it got easier. And I'm very thankful for it now, because I have to do my thesis now. So that requires a lot of research. And I feel that really helped me in terms of like understanding how to actually do research and read literature.
That's great, isn't it? So you get that opportunity to study research, and then there's also a bursary for it as well. It's in there, you get some sort of a financial stipend.
It's I'm not sure how much it was. I think it was over $1,000 you get in. So it's lovely. It's nice money, like, for yourself also.
Yeah, but it ticks a few boxes. All right, it's great. The pandemic and the way that maybe what you're studying might somewhat intersect with that. Is anything that you've studied kind of you've thought, oh, actually, yeah, that rings a bell now, and when you hear everything that's going on in terms of research and stuff?
Well, I hear, because we've done quite a lot of study in terms of like science, and in third year we actually had quite a lot of courses in terms of like immunology and cell biology and viruses. And funny enough, it was the moment we started learning about different types of viruses was when COVID came out, and just I was like, okay, this is a bit weird, but
it's a bit freaky. Yeah.
So I think that a lot of the things that I've learned now, and I read things online, and or I hear people say like, oh, vaccines cause infertilities and stuff like this, and it's just I just don't think they understand the science to really say something. But then when I do try to explain it, my sister May, she's like, just don't, okay, just don't bother.
Yeah. So it's good though, isn't it? It's interesting that the real world stuff is very much intersecting with what you have studied.
But also, I don't do biology in fourth year, but my friends do, and she's been given the opportunity to do her thesis on kind of COVID related strategies. So she is really enjoying it because it is very current, and she really enjoys that part of it. Yeah.
So now you're in fourth year with just chemistry is the solo subject that you're having a single major in chemistry. Why did you decide to not do the two subjects in your final year?
Well, I started off so I registered for biology and chemistry at the beginning, and I did really want to do biology because I enjoyed both of them together. But because of COVID, I wasn't able to get a lab project in both semesters. So it kind of turned out that I would have just done 2 smaller literature reviews. And I said no, because if I go to the lab, that is like the only time I can actually leave the house for a good reason. So I had to be there, and it was just a little bit of, exercise and a little bit of interacting with people, and I really wanted that.
Okay.
So I did email a couple of my professors, and I was like, if I do chemistry as a double honors, can I do a lab project with you? But they were shortened down, so they were 6 weeks, and now they're only 4 weeks. And realistically, in 4 weeks, depending what department you're in, you can't actually get that much done. So it just didn't make sense for some people to actually do lab projects, so they were given literature reviews.
Okay.
So then I said, okay, I'll just move and I'll just do full chemistry. And I am very happy with my full chemistry, mainly because it incorporates a lot more biology than I had realized.
Okay.
I think that made me really happy. Yeah.
So what do you think then? I know you said you're still not 100% sure about what you want to actually do once you graduate, but I mean, you must have something kind of in the back of your head about what you will do.
Well, the SPUR project that we did last year, we actually entered it for a grant, so for a research grant. I would love to go straight into my PhD if possible, because I think that is an area that I would do really well in, and I'm very interested in it. So it's still hard work, but it's hard work that you don't mind doing sometimes, and that's the way I see things. So I would really love to be able to go straight into my PhD, but we haven't gotten an answer whether or not I have gotten a grant yet or not. So I have started looking for different positions so I said, okay, maybe I could just take a year and work, because I don't want to do a master's online again. It's very frustrating, and I want to go back out in the world. So I said I could just take a year out and get a little bit of experience in terms of the industry, because we don't have work placements and things like that. So we do have to go out looking for our own.
In your particular degree, there is no work placement, apart from the SPUR, obviously, which you can apply for.
Yeah. So I've been looking for just jobs in different companies like Pfizer, Takeda, Alexion and stuff, and I've been applying. So I'm just kind of waiting on different postgraduate opportunities to open up until the end. But I think from there, I would definitely be more capable of choosing the right masters if I do go into masters, because there's so many different things that you can go into, and I feel I don't have enough experience to really choose one that is tailored to what I want just yet. So
very good.
I think that's my career.
Very comprehensive and well done. That's very interesting to hear about your thoughts on that. will you tell us about any final words of advice for a potential student of Maynooth?
Definitely, my professor said this to us just when we started one of our modules, and it really did stick with me. And he said, well, you've made it this far into your degree, or you've made it, you know, this far into actually getting into college and having a place. Why throw that all away just because you can't put up your hand and ask a question? And a lot of it does come down with people don't ask questions, and they say, it's okay, I'll just learn it later, or I'll figure it out later. And you don't. But people, like lecturers, want you to ask questions, and it's okay. And a lot of the times, like, you know, like a final year student now, and sometimes I still get confused with certain things, and these are basic certain things, and that's okay. You know, people do forget things, but just the most important thing is ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions. This is your opportunity to learn, so don't let that slip away from you just because you didn't ask questions.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, thank you for answering all my questions so beautifully, and it was lovely to see you today, Andreea.
Thank you.
Thank you.